Okay, we're back. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for assisted technology and healing and all this stuff, but the way they're going about it is a war crime. War crimes that were proven to be war crimes in World War II, were they not? All this stuff's written in our laws and everything else. They could try to say, "Oh, should this be legal?" It was already illegal, so you don't need to ask whether we need to vote on it again. We already voted on it. So, American public, I hope you really understand what they're doing with this brain initiative. Open questions. So, let's get back to checking their brains out. Let's psychologically profile these guys. Little self-esteem, a little "you better watch your mouth, little boy," and let me see. Oh, look, I have power. Now, as long as I don't make any waves, I'll be fine. As long as I just convince everybody, and I can continue being director of DARPA. Oh, man.
Is really opening a window that we think is going to lead to some amazing and powerful capabilities ahead. Some of the work that we've been doing already has started to show us how we can have direct brain control of very sophisticated prosthetics. We're looking at what's possible in terms of understanding how memory is encoded in the brain and how we can start to imagine how we might repair and restore memory loss. As you can imagine, both of those are examples of challenges that our wounded war.
She's full of shit. What they're really doing is they've learned how to delete portions of your memory, how to repress those memories. They haven't perfected it, so y'all might have a chance. Do you want your memories taken from you? Huh? One day do you want to be whatever, and the next day you wake up in the gutter and all you think is you were some just dumbass your whole life? Then you have these dreams of another life. How do you think that would feel? Oh yeah, this ain't science fiction anymore, Toto.
Warriors face, and very much an issue that's of concern to us as part of the Defense Department. We also think that as we learn more about how the brain functions, there are going to be opportunities ahead perhaps to inspire new information processing architectures or new computing approaches. There are going to be new opportunities to understand how all of us learn and assess and gather new information. And these first few steps that we're going to be taking, I think, are going to lead to some.
Yeah, you know how they do it? You know, the new approaches to learning and thinking, aside from the fucking implants, they steal it from people just like me. Yeah, I've mentioned my test scores and all these other things and how they've... Yeah, watch prior videos if you want to know the rest of my story. Here, I'll just keep interjecting and saying, hey, check this out, check this out, check this out.
Amazing capabilities. So we're really pleased to be able to team with NIH and with the National Science Foundation as well. And we think that by pulling together, we're going to be able to take bigger steps working with the broad scientific and technical community.
Well, I'm also very glad to be part of this exciting initiative. And Arthur and Tom, it's nice to sit here with you and to hear from our folks out there who may want to send questions through Twitter. NIH is the largest supporter of biomedical research in the world, and our focus in neuroscience has been very substantial over the years. We're now spending like $5.5 billion in neuroscience research, even before this initiative gets started. But
$5.5 billion? Did he say billion? I need to back it up a bit and catch her last name.
It's nice to sit here with you and to hear from our folks out there who may want to send questions through Twitter. NIH is the largest supporter of biomedical research in the world, and our focus in neuroscience has been very substantial over the years. We're now spending like $5.5 billion in neuroscience research, even before this initiative gets started. But this initiative...
Oh, you know what I get out of that?
initiative is,
And no, I never signed anything. I never agreed to anything. These fuckers started this shit when I was a child. So I really hope this fucker suffers in hell. Sorry. I have no fucking love for these fuckers. I mean, how could I? How could I? I shouldn't even be asked, because it just doesn't have to do with just me. And I got 38 fucking years plus of these fuckers.
an idea whose time has come. We have learned over the course of years how to record from individual neurons and to see what happens when they are being activated, and to learn a bit about how they're connected. And we know there's about 100 billion of them in the human brain, and that each one of those makes thousands of connections. But we haven't been able to really understand what's going on in real time in the circuits in the brain that control important things, like the visual system, like memories, like even consciousness. And we would love to be able to take advantage of new technologies that are just now being invented at a rather interesting pace, and apply those to really learn the language of the brain, to learn how these...
You know what they really want to learn is how to circumvent God, spirituality, you know, indigenous things, things out of their control, like faith, things like that. That's why I'm so disgusted.
Things happen at the speed of thought, and then to utilize that to build a new foundation upon which we can build new insights into Alzheimer's disease, into epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, autism, schizophrenia, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, all of these conditions that we know have their basic difficulties residing in the brain, but where our tools for understanding them have been limited. Here is the chance to pull together the best and brightest experts from all over this country, and we will have international connections here as well, join up with foundations, going with our partners at DARPA and NSF, and really tackle a problem which you could say is the greatest scientific frontier that we could think of, the human brain. And today, the President announces we're getting started.
Great. So Francis, first question is for you, and this is from Faster Cures.
So now I'm really thinking the president is the fucking Antichrist. This is about what I needed as proof. I don't give a fuck what his name is, where he was born, what race he is, none of that. You know, I'm the kind of guy that will listen what you're saying and weigh it against your actions. Now well, since 2008, I've been loud, but I've been at this since, well, a little bit before that. And, no, I'm sorry, guys. Unless you have me head this up and lead an oversight committee and give me that $100 million, and that's just for my hire on bone, you know, whatever. And then you gotta listen to what my budget's gonna be as oversight to make sure you guys don't do shit like what you did to me. And you want to know what else? I can claim that underneath kind of what Geronimo said. How's that sound? You know, because you did me the most harm, that makes me the chief. Good thing I'm not vengeful like Geronimo, huh? Yeah, you guys better listen up, or, well, then he is the Antichrist. I mean, how else can I read this?
How can patient communities be involved, and what patient-related outcomes can they expect?
Great question. And Faster Cures is a wonderful organization that has really done a lot to bring this to attention. Well, clearly...
All right. I should jump in here and say, check out the prior video if you want my proof as to what they've done to people. I got a lot of proof. I got boxes of it, actually, paperwork, court papers, you name it, to lay it all out for you. What they do, how they do it, how they fuck with you, how they torture you, how they fuck with your head and nearly kill you, just to see how you deal with it. So, you guys want to deal with them, or you want to get them out?
patient communities be involved, and what patient-related outcomes can they expect?
Great question. And Faster Cures is a wonderful organization that has really done a lot to bring this to attention. Well, clearly, I just mentioned a list of diseases which we believe ultimately will benefit.
Oh, so he knows who's asking the questions, huh? Don't you think that's interesting? Seems kind of staged, don't it?
From this enterprise. I want to be clear that that isn't going to happen overnight. As we try to build an understanding of the emergent properties of the brain and how these circuits work, we are gradually going to get those insights that lead to advances in human disease. It'll be very important, though, to have patient advocates as our partners all the way along, and for us to understand in a two-way conversation how this enterprise is meeting those goals. And we will.
Did you notice that? How brains think and we will get? Like I said, antitrust. They're ripping off the real brains. They're just fucking morons.
Need the support of patient advocates for this kind of enterprise, recognizing that it is not going to be an overnight sensation, but something that will require a commitment over the...
Wait, they need the support of patient advocates? See, I could almost interject on every fucking sentence this fucking shitwad. Ooh. Sorry, but I guess I am trying to force the anger a little bit so that you get the point. Do you get the point?
Course of quite a few years, just as with the Genome Project back 20 years ago, where that kind of support from patient advocates was critical to get an enterprise underway that many people were skeptical about, but which ultimately has transformed a lot of what we do in medicine today.
Great. And Arthi, the next question is for you. Can you please address the concern that there'll be a brain drain of funds away from other research areas? And this is from Michael Thomason.
Within DARPA, this is an initiative that we're excited about, but it's really one of a very broad set of activities across a diverse portfolio of interest. Ranges from a number of things that we do that are much more military unique, but really one of...
Like I said, their questions seem to be coming from a specific group of people, probably their family members, huh?
Of a very broad set of activities across a diverse portfolio of interests, and that ranges from a number of things that we do that are much more military unique, but across the technology spectrum, other areas of biologically inspired research, including looking at new approaches to diagnose and then treat infectious disease, work that we are doing on the big data front, which actually may have some very interesting applications in this enterprise as well. But more broadly, where we're trying to develop the tools and the capabilities that will allow many different application areas to use new insights, to get real insight and knowledge and meaning out of vast heterogeneous data sets. Other work that we're doing to advance the frontiers of material science and to come up with new pathways to come up with materials with novel properties that we haven't even been able to imagine yet today. So in the broader DARPA context, this is one of a larger number of exciting initiatives. And in each of those areas, the way we get our work done, of course, is by working with a broad technical community. And so it's always very much something in our minds to make sure that we see that we continue to have this robust science and technology enterprise across the country, not just in this area, but in many others as well.
Great.
Yeah, they don't care about your heart, your soul, or your mind. Just as long as the world is the way they want it, and they can sit on top of their dunce caps, lubing them up.
Francis, this next question is for you, and this is from Puneet Kolapara, and he asks, where will the money from the BRAIN initiative come from? lots of scientists worry will take money from existing neuro research. So I'm wondering if you could talk about the neuroscience blueprint and that type of thing.
Sure. So NIH in FY14, what the president was talking about this morning, is going to come up with $40 million in that budget to support this BRAIN initiative. That will come in part from dollars that are put together every year by a group of institute directors who are part of the neuroscience blueprint. So this brings together those institutes that are working on neuroscience directly, on mental health, on drug.
So, should I just go around and shoot every fucking doctor I see? Out of, what would that be called? In a court of law? Self-defense? Do you see what I'm talking about here? This is an act of war on humanity. I hate to say that. I don't want to instigate anything stupid. Just, our military needs to do something about this, or the populace is going to at some point. And I would hate to be any of these people or any doctor that has turned a blind eye to this. Like the one I asked if he had taken his Hippocratic oath and he wouldn't answer. Or the one that said, oh, that's a hair tie. Like, wow, that's interesting because on my ID picture I have a crew cut and that picture was taken a month prior to that x-ray. So, try again, lying assholes. I'm sorry, is my language offending people? Well, I think you need to be more offended about this, what they're saying, the words coming out of their mouths. At least mine are truth. At least mine, God enjoys hearing.
Abuse, on eye diseases, all of these, of course, connected to the brain. And they have sort of a rolling investment fund that they try to figure out where to put those resources. And this is, in their view, the perfect kind of initiative to make those investments. So between that and some other institute contributions and a little bit from my own discretionary fund, we believe there's $40 million that can go into this enterprise to get it started, and then joining with DARPA and their $50 million, and NSF and another $20 million coming from there, and foundations that are ready to actually join in a big way, some of whom have been in this space already for quite a while, like the Allen Institute for Brain Science, the Kavli Foundation, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, the Salk Institute. We actually, I think, could say this is going to be quite a strong start out of the gate with a project that's just now being announced.
So we had a question from Michael S. Carroll, who has a blog called Nuke Ambiguous, and he had a question for Francis about the high-level working group that you're going to be putting together.
Well, we felt this was the perfect moment to convene a dream team of the most visionary neuroscientists across the board, from simple systems to complicated ones, from technology developers to people who are more interested in things like brain function at a higher level, and put them into a very clearly charged circumstance of telling us exactly what the right steps should be, what the milestones should be, what the deliverables and the timetables for this project to be successful. How much should be focused initially.
Now, for all you prognosticators, all you, I don't know what you call them, prophets? People that say something's going to happen, either in the government or something else. Well, I'm going to ask you, how many times have I said something and voila, poof? Yeah, prior videos I talk about all this, I'm speaking of it in a truthful, honest way. And they're trying to sell it to the public. Oh, don't worry about this, everything will be fine. We're going to help your grandmother with Alzheimer's. Well, by the time they do get around to having things to help her, she's going to be long gone. You're going to probably be gone, and they're going to be the only ones using that. The rest of you are going to have shock collars and dog collars and implants through your body to lock your body up or to cause you whatever. Yeah, you guys want to really find out about what they're doing? Well, let me see. Obama comes from a people, or one set of people, that created slavery. And my people had to put his people in their place a long time ago. It's a matter of historical record, archaeological record, and the record's even housed in the UN. or one, or a copy of the record. Yeah, right between the investment council and the intelligence security, whatever fucking committee.
On technology development, for instance, to allow us to record from hundreds of thousands of neurons at one time? How much should be focused on simpler systems where we might be able to figure out the very basic language of how circuits operate versus looking at much more complicated systems like the human? All of that is the charge to this group, which is going to be co-led by Corey Bargman.
Like he always says, like the human, almost like he's not one. It's kind of creepy, ain't it?
From Rockefeller University, and Bill Newsom from Stanford. And they're going to guide us. And a lot of what NIH does going forward will be very much dependent upon what this group comes up with. They're going to give us initial feedback this summer about what they think we should start on in fiscal year 14. But then we're going to ask them by the summer of 2014 to lay out a much more detailed schedule of what exactly the milestones ought to be so that we have a firm foundation for this project where we all know what we're trying to do. We're asking them to make their goals bold, maybe even audacious, but not crazy, achievable. And we're pretty confident in this group to make that.
So, Project Camelot, David Icke, all you so-called super soldiers and everybody else out there that said, prove it, prove it, prove it. Oh my God, we don't want to have anything to do with him. Hey, I keep my shit real. And this is about as real as it gets, ain't it?
Great. So I've got a question for you, Arthi, from Brad Thielman. And the question is, how much will the initial initiative focus on the theoretical foundations of brain function in addition to mapping the brain?
That's a great question, because I think brain function is, for the DARPA work, really is the starting point about thinking about this initiative. That's the line of inquiry that we're really taking is, I think we have some understanding at the neuron scale. We're able to measure what's happening. Of course, traditional neuroscience, I'm told by our neurologists, is, we've learned our neuroscience stroke by stroke, so we have this sort of macro picture of how the brain works. But really the interesting question, I think, lies in that mid-range. And that's going to be the most fruitful area, we believe, from the work that we're doing so far. And so, in fact, studying brain function and being able to build a theoretical model as we go, something that we will, of course, be refining as we learn more and more. I think that's that interplay between a model that we can test and then more data coming in as we develop new tools and sensing. That's really going to be a very, very fertile direction for this research area. So I think that's exactly where I would expect to see the good results coming from.
Great. Francis, this one is for you, and it's from Adam Steele, aka Mr. Steely Dan. And he wants to know how are the findings of the Brain Initiative going to be made publicly available. So maybe you could talk about NIH's...
I'm making them public right now. What? Do I work too fast for you fuckwads? Oh, because I'm uneducated? Oh, I'm sorry. Kind of shows you how fucking stupid they are, huh? Sorry to be so rude about this, but, well, if I gotta talk about it and I gotta convey this information, then you're gonna get the emotions with it too, huh? It's kind of hard to report on something that you're also a victim of.
Leadership and public access, and also some of the things that NIH has been doing to make data more broadly available.
That's a great question. So we firmly believe, and this is strongly supported across the government in terms of the science agencies, in making data accessible immediately to all those who might be able to utilize this to make new insights into biology and medicine. In a certain way, this got a big leap forward with the Genome Project, which I had the privilege of leading, and which decided back almost 20 years ago that all the data produced by that project would be immediately placed on the internet without any barrier to access or any attempt to file for intellectual property for things that seemed like they really were basic science and they should be in the common public domain. The BRAIN project will follow those same principles of immediate data access, because while there may be a core group of individuals who are working on this effort, the neuroscience community writ large is going to be very interested and very powerful in being able to build on what the core group produces. So we will make every effort to immediately test any new data that's produced to be sure that the quality is good. We don't want to put stuff out there that's going to mislead people. But as soon as it looks as if there's a data set that is well quality.
So if for some unknown reason, from this point on, everything they do is to help people, other than maybe a few black budget things going on here and there, of course, is that acceptable to you? And is it acceptable that they did certain things to people over their lifetime to develop all this fucking information, as they also put me into war zones and had me do all sorts of things? Not bad things, but the way they went about it, that's the fucking bad part. The way they went about repressing my memory, that's the bad part. How many of you want to be tortured? Here, let me stick some needles in your body and hook some juice up to those needles. Yeah, just like acupuncture. And then turn the juice on. Yeah, there's a movie with that chair in it. Yeah, I was surprised to see that in a movie. It's not called, yeah, I guess you can call it the Montauk chair if you want. But that's not, I don't think that's what they call it.
Controlled, it's going to be available. And again, NIH feels very strongly that this kind of public access to data is a critical part of why the taxpayers pay us to what we do, to do what...
Oh, that chair they tortured me in was shipped to 520 South Franklin Street. It wasn't when I was living there, nor when my mother was living there. It was somebody that lived there prior. And it was shipped, and it was dressed up like a barber's chair. Yeah, this guy I know, Jeff, his boss, liked collecting barber's chairs. Well, you pull off the covers to the chair, and it's kind of like this metal fucking skeleton with, oh my goodness, and then you get strapped to it. It's pretty fucked up. Yeah, it looks like something out of one of those fucked up spy movies. Stainless steel and all that other shit.
We do, and it's an empowering kind of procedure for science in general. And I might say it applies not just to scientists, but to the general public. We very strongly are pushing the idea that any publications that comes out of biomedical research should be accessible to anybody who's interested in that information without necessarily having barriers or cost get in the way. Right now, anything that we support is available for free within 12 months, and there's certainly conversations about shortening that time, which we're very interested in seeing come to pass.
Hey, like I said, as long as I get to put together an oversight committee that has, well, we could talk about that, but you could almost equate it to like a Jack Reacher style oversight committee. You just show up unannounced. Well, if you ain't doing anything wrong, why should you worry about it? And if you're gonna publish it publicly, your findings and all that other stuff, then you really shouldn't be worried about secrecy issues, right? Oh, but then it'd be harder to hide the backroom things. Yeah, I can't go along with anything like this unless I'm fucking head of an oversight fucking committee, a fucking committee, a group, a unit, well trained, well paid, all that stuff. Yeah, that has the authority to also shut down a project. Of course, we'll do it with this. Yeah, anyways, I'm not going to go into all that right now.
Yes.
Great. Another question for you, Francis, which is from Bam D. Woodchipper, and he wants to know why we should make this investment now, given that the NIH paylines are so low.
Well, that's a very serious question, and of course we are deeply concerned at the present time. The support for biomedical research is in a pretty difficult pickle. Over the course of the last 10 years, the NIH budget has actually lost about 20% of its purchasing power, with flat budgets and inflation eroding our ability to conduct research. And of course, the sequesters, which...
He probably should say that Mr. Kimball's big mouth and all his little friends that are sick of being lied to. That would have been a nicer way to put, we're cutting your shit off. If you don't fucking straighten up and you come talk to me face to face like a fucking man.
Just happened, have further caused a hit to that resource support, with $1.5 billion being removed from NIH's budget for the current fiscal year. So one might well ask, is this the wrong time to be starting something new and innovative? But if you could see, as I think we all do, the opportunity here for actually...
Oh, I see the opportunity here to shut you guys down. Yeah. Exactly. I see an opportunity here. Oh, your funds are drying up, so you guys had to surface. Oh my goodness. Didn't I talk about that? I'd wear them down till they had to fucking poke their little fucking heads out of their shadows.
The next big advance in neuroscience, it's going to have implications for patients and their families who are waiting for new breakthroughs to occur for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or autism. And you can see the technology has just about now arrived at the point where this could happen.
Those breakthroughs have already occurred. There's a lot of treatments for autism as well as Alzheimer's, and I'm sure there are other treatments that they haven't told you about. For one thing, autism. Oh, cut weed out of your diet. Do a heavy metals detox. Of course, after you do that, you got to replace the good minerals and everything in the body. So don't do it without doing some research and asking and blah blah and so on. But yeah, and that almost completely clears up some forms of autism right there. And even the other more severe forms of autism, well, it helps there too. Oh yeah. And then there's certain epilepsy things that are helped with a certain type of cannabis, a specific type, not high in THC but high in the CQB. So you know what? Yeah, I don't think these people have our best interest in mind. But like I said, maybe we can do this a different way without getting violent. But they would have to trust somebody like me. And well, as people can tell, I'm not the kind of guy that can tolerate certain things. I do something about it. And if I can't, oh, I'll be loud about it until somebody that can hears. So yeah, sometimes you do have to talk a lot. But I walk a lot too, so yeah. You gotta make sure your talking doesn't outrun your walking. Of course, well. I've had to do a lot of catching up a time or two.
It would be very hard to say, well, we're going to hunker down for a while and wait until the budget gets better. Be clear now, the initiative...
Oh, shit! I just did a video today about that. Oh my goodness, I just did a video today about that. That they had these several choices they could do, and even if they hunkered down, I'd root them out, I'd sniff them out, I'd run underground, and then I'd flood their little holes. Alright, let me back this up a bit so you can hear it in its continuity. I'm sorry, I act quickly. I work very quickly at times. I do apologize. Try to slow down as well as stop using so many words. It's hanging there. I'm trying to.
See, as I think we all do, the opportunity here for actually the next big advance in neuroscience. It's going to have implications for patients and their families who are waiting for new breakthroughs to occur for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or autism. And you can see the technology has just about now arrived at the point where this could happen. It would be very hard to say, well, we're going to hunker down for a while and wait until the budget gets better. Be clear now, the initiative that we're talking about, the BRAIN initiative here, $100 million, that is still only in the neighborhood of 0.3% of the NIH.
Ah, didn't he look real nervous there? Well, he's talking about helping these people out, so why would they do anything to a perfectly healthy brain? Yeah. As some have noticed, I hope you noticed in the videos, or at least I've noticed. Maybe I just hide it well. Alright. Dang it, Marley. No, I already took you outside. Go lay down. Wait a half an hour. Yeah, I don't like it when he does that. In and out, in and out. Good boy. Thank God he listens. And I didn't even have to put an implant in him, nor beat him. Yeah. Why would they have to do that to a very intelligent, high abstract reasoning with some very good aptitudes and all that other fun, happy horse shit? Why would they choose to cause me unneeded duress and all these other things? What purpose would there be? Oh yeah, DARPA and this and that. And fuck.
Budget. So this is not going to have a huge impact on the rest of what we do. And of course, the people who are supported through the BRAIN Initiative will be those wonderful, bright neuroscientists who might otherwise be seeking support through some other means from NIH. So it's not as if we're taking this money and putting it somewhere else that is completely disconnected to the overall enterprise. Frankly, I wish we could go faster.
Frankly, I've said for a couple of years now, yeah, to start off with, you guys owe me at least $100 million in reparations right off the top before anything else happens. For ice, you know, whatever. No, this stuff's got to be known about, and I would take that money as well as at least get myself a new pair of shoes, and I'd get to work on, anyways, helping people. Oh God, I got some really fucking doozy ideas. Some people go, you're crazy. I'd say, yeah, watch it work. Seems like, yeah, over the years I've seen a lot of things that they've stolen from me work, and I've seen them fuck it up. Because, well, they stole it. And anytime you try to steal a large sum of anything, you always leave certain important parts behind, like the real valuable parts. Well, because, you know, you're going to hide those, aren't you? Or you got to spend more time explaining the more core pieces so that... Come on. Yeah, I need to stop explaining. Or not explaining. It's not explaining. It's my desire to share some of my processes and knowledge and just how I work things out and what I'm trying to explain. Anyways, that's better left for other types of videos, huh? Let's stop getting all lovey-dovey here. Yeah.
The budget circumstance gets better, and if this project looks as promising as I think it will, maybe we'll be able to ramp it up and still be able to be in a circumstance where we can see everything else flourish as well. But right now, it just seems like it would be the wrong time to decide we're going to put this on hold when the promise is as great as it is.
Great. And Arthi, this question for you, and this is from Gabrielle Rabinowitz, and she wants to know, how will the labs that are going to be part of this initiative be selected for funding?
Yes, I think the way our programs work, and you know, very similar in some ways to what NIH and NSF do as well. We want to make sure that we are able to have an open opportunity for every researcher in the country that has a great idea, and so our work is done through competitive processes. And once a program is defined, we typically go out with a broad announcement. And actively work to make sure that everyone knows about it, because we want to get proposals from the best possible places. And that means, for us, it means, of course, the research community that already knows about DARPA, but we also really make an effort to reach out to people that don't already know about us or know about our work. And then through a competitive selection process, we end up making awards. You. Across DARPA, our work gets done in universities and companies of all sizes, as well as government and other kinds of laboratories.
As well as junior colleges and community colleges and shit like that. Yeah, I thought so.
This particular work is somewhat more research oriented, so I would expect to continue to see a greater preponderance of laboratory and university funding, but again, a very broad swath of participants.
And I'm actually going to take this next question.
Go for it.
This question is from William Pomerantz, and he wants to know whether there are any X-Prize style incentive prizes as part of the BRAIN initiative. This is a real area of interest for the Office of Science and Technology Policy, and we were able to work with Congress to get
Like I just said earlier in this video. Hey guys, yeah. Call in if you need some money for some good info. Or if you want to participate, if you know how to talk to us. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, man.
legislation passed that gives all agencies the authority to support incentive prizes of up to $50 million. DARPA has been a great user of prize authority and used it, for example, for the development of a self-driving car, which is now attracting a huge amount of private sector interest. So we don't have any immediate plans for an incentive prize in this area, but we would.
Oh, self-driving car, huh? Let me see. Didn't we have a lot of talk recently about self-driving cars and the occupants ending up dead?
A lot of ideas about the appropriate use of incentive prizes. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the area of using incentive prizes for big data related challenges when you make a lot of data available to the public and encourage global communities of data scientists to extract more value. So great question, an issue that we'll be continuing to take a look at.
Can I chime in on that?
Sure.
To extract more value. To squeeze? I don't know. Think about it. You know, it's oh my god, this is driving me nuts. You know, it's a really good thing I understood the terrorist mindset at a very young age. I understood what drives people over the edge. And that's kind of how I've endured a lot of this bullshit. But then again, part of my job is to shut these fuckers down. So I'm sanctioned as well as they are. But my sanctioning is older than theirs. Well, maybe not. I don't know. No, actually, they got shut down, remember? Somehow they got started back up. So who's really operating on a constitutionally based set of orders? Oh, you gonna argue with me now about how old I started? No, they don't argue using me, do they? Oh, well, he's part of the military. He was drafted at a young age when we amended the labor laws back in '78. Nobody caught that, did they? How many of you caught that? Oh, amending the labor laws so that they could, you know, blah, blah, work overtime, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, you know, why would they do that? Oh, what labor laws for the Navy would they have to amend? Because didn't they already work overtime in times of whatever, you know, like on salary? Unless it had to do with what? Think about it. Child labor laws. Yeah. And look at these fuckers.
You know, the next chapter of the robotics challenges is underway right now at DARPA, and this year's DARPA Robotics Challenge is about robots that can help in a humanitarian aid or disaster relief scenario. So specifically robots that know how to operate in a human-designed environment. So can they climb stairs? Can they turn knobs? And we're seeing some amazing innovation come out of that particular challenge. I think it'd be very interesting, whoever tweeted about that, I'd be very interested to hear what ideas are out there for challenges related to the brain work.
Great. And here is a question, which is, how can private companies, universities, and philanthropists help support your efforts? And this is from Hebrew Home.
Well, already several private foundations have stepped forward to say they want to be significant players, and we're delighted by that. I mentioned Kavli, the Allen Institute, the Howard Hughes Institute, the Salk Institute, and there are others that have made some initial.
Well, Anonymous, I would hope you guys are listening to this. I hope you guys listen to what I have to say about this. I hope you're also listening to all the nice little lists of foundations and institutes they're talking about, and put them on your list of who to fuck with. That would be kind of cool.
Inquiries that leads me to believe that's not going to be the whole list. And likewise, industries. There are a lot of industry interest out there from organizations that are very much into these kinds of complex circuit modeling, and some who are also thinking that this might be the next way to design a new generation of computers. If we understood how the human brain does what it does, it might teach us some very exciting things about future design. So the door is wide open to all of those inquiries, especially right now, as we begin to pull this project together and figure out who's got the ball with which parts. I'm hoping we'll have lots of players. Again, it will be very important that we have good communication and that we're all on the same place as far as data access, so that the information that comes out of this network of players it benefits everybody who's got a good idea and wants to follow it up to the next step.
Great. Here's a question that both of you might address, which is, given how little understanding we currently have, will we start with simple
my idea is a
organisms
good one.
to map their brains first?
So from NIH's perspective, there'll certainly be an important role there, because we may be able to learn some important principles about how these circuits operate by working with systems that are not quite as complicated as the 100 billion neurons of the brain. And would expect that some of those principles will actually apply to more complicated systems as well. So it will be a mix of trying to learn what we can from simpler systems, but not being shy to try to tackle more complicated ones. There will be the issue also of invasiveness versus non-invasiveness. If you're trying to understand the normal function of a normal human brain, you probably don't want to do things that are going to put that person at risk. So some of the more invasive efforts will have to be done with simpler organisms.
Really? 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 See what I mean? Come on, Anonymous. You see this, you hear this. Anybody that watches this is hearing this, watching it. So yeah, anyway, sorry. I need to drink some water or some coffee. It's been a long day.
Where that is acceptable, although we will follow every kind of ethical constraint on that. DARPA has been very much interested in the human applications, particularly with wounded warriors. I don't know if you want to say something about that, Arthur.
Yeah, that's been very much our focus, and with the focus on brain function research and this sort of mid-level understanding of what's happening in the brain, the natural path for our projects has been to start with animal models and then, after extensive research there, moving forward with human activities. It's been a very productive path.
Chris Buellen wants to know whether you think this will be our generation space race.
Well, maybe it'll be our generation space moonshot. The race part of it worries me a little bit. There's an implication here that this is going to somehow end up being a big competition between countries or whatever. I think the science that we're talking about here is really fundamental, pre-competitive,
it already is
kind of work. We look forward to the opportunity to...
Matter of fact, a couple videos ago, today actually, I presented the whole China smartphone. Yeah. What do you think a smartphone might do to that? Yeah, they had their own ideas. Reverse engineer. Let's see what this does.
Build this enterprise with international colleagues and do it all together, as we are doing now with genomics, for instance, where there is an international flavor to cancer genomics, to the microbiome, to all these other projects which spun out of the technology advances in DNA sequencing, this ought to have that same potential.
Oh, that spun out of. I wonder if that spun out of the areas I started off in, or kept spinning out in some sense. How many others like me have they done this? Actually, I know of one person. I think his name, what's his name again? He's an Australian. He's an older gentleman, left the Australian covert, he was a covert naval diver for the Australian Navy, you know, special forces. And he had similar implants. He found his implants in 1997. He left that Navy in 1971. And it turns out that the Australian universities have a lot of information on the side effects of a vagus nerve bundle stimulator, which is it's configured differently than this. The one they show and talk about is a different type, which is usually used for epilepsy and other things that require a type of pacemaker. Okay.
And goodness, the results of this project, if it's successful, should touch all of the 7 billion lives on the planet. So we really ought to work on it together to try to get a good outcome for everybody.
That's really great. And you know, the thing I would add is I grew up in a generation during the space race where space was inspirational to us as kids, and it was something that fired our imaginations and got our pulses racing. I think this project certainly has that kind of potential, because I know, you know, when you talk to kids and you start imagining with them what we might learn about how the human brain works and how we then understand ourselves from that, I think it is going to have that kind of potential to capture their imaginations.
Right. One of the things that the president talked about in his remarks this morning was the idea of grand challenges, of identifying these ambitious but achievable goals that have the potential to capture the public imagination. So whether it's putting a man on the moon, or sequencing the human genome, or transforming our understanding of how the human brain works, these are the types of really big, ambitious goals that do get people excited. And one of the other things that the president said is that he really wants to see this become an all-hands-on-deck effort, so that this is not just about the government, but already you see companies like IBM driving advances in AI by beating Garry Kasparov at chess and Ken Jennings at Jeopardy, or Qualcomm supporting a large incentive prize for a tricorder, some small mobile device that could diagnose 10 diseases, or Elon Musk saying, I want to die on Mars but not on impact. So these are the types of ambitious goals that I think really would have the potential to get people excited about science, technology, and innovation that I think can become positive self-fulfilling prophecies. So we have 7 new tweets. And one question was about the...
So, what do you think? Tell me. I think on these, I'm going to go ahead and open up the comments. If people want to be assholes and jackasses, fine. But remember, I do believe in a positive use and application of certain technologies. Yet, I also believe in extreme oversight for such technologies so that they are never applied to enslave another human being. Oh my goodness, I'm not going to go into all the little fucking details of what I think about all that, other than to say my terms I've already kind of mentioned. And part of it's just an immediate check cut to me for quite a bit of fucking money so that I can use that. It's not for reward nor price. It's more to repair some damage, get to a point in a quick fashion that I can head up a oversight. Let me see, what would we call it? We could call it counter psyops, yeah, that would be included in my terms. Because that's included in, well, brainwashing, right? Bioethics. What is your limit of bioethics? Bioethics is like a term like terrorism. It's just the opposite of terrorism. So that's where I'm at on this. I'm kind of getting a headache from listening to this fucking drivel. I mean, what? They got an IQ of maybe 120 between them.
Funding for the ethical issues associated with the ethical, legal, and societal implications. As the president mentioned, he's going to be asking his bioethics commission to look at positive self-fulfilling prophecies. So we have 7.
Oh, so they're going to go into talking about here. This is just to help you along. I hope this is showing up good. Here, I'll even make sure that it's sure I still got that stashed somewhere in one of my boxes.
New tweets. And so one question was about the funding for the ethical issues associated with the ethical, legal, and societal implications. As the president mentioned, he's going to be asking his bioethics commission to look at this. But I know that's something that both of you have thought about. Clearly, DARPA is always dealing with really, radical new technologies that raise ethical issues. And obviously, when you...
So, Obama asked that commission about the issues. Okay, they know the issues. Right here. Oh, man. That's why I need somebody that knows what they're doing to help me out with this. Yeah, look. Ba-bum. Done. Yeah, see, that's scanned into my computer. There's signature, everything that's needed. Okay. Alright.
We're directing the Human Genome Project. This is something that NHGRI took very seriously as well, so I'm wondering if you can both comment on that.
Well, I totally appreciate the importance of this, and believe me, I think there are going to be a lot of interesting and important questions to address, and I think it's great the President has charged Amy Gutman and the Bioethics Commission to begin that process. And it will require some research no doubt. The Genome Project, perhaps.
Amy Gutman. The letter right there is Karen Bonham. It's a good way to keep this information from, the old director's out, new director's in, new director doesn't know about my stuff. And these people and the president push it through, and the Bioethics Commission thinks everything's fine and dandy. So please, people, say something. You didn't see anything, I'm telling you. How's that sound?
Perhaps maybe for rather first time decided this was such a major part of what was being proposed that this would be done in a forward-looking way with a substantial budgetary contribution to the effort. And we can learn a lot from that experience, trying to be proactive, not waiting for the crisis, but trying to imagine what the most important questions are for society and how we can prepare ourselves to be sure we're going down the right path. And I think that's the same kind of model we can follow here.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that's one of the few areas where we have tried as a society to start asking the questions before the technologies really roll out, and I think we really need to do that here. I always like to distinguish between the two pieces. One is the ethical manner in which we do the research that we directly sponsor. And I think that's very important for us to continue to do, but it's also quite clear because there are clear laws and regulations that govern that. The much more interesting questions really come as we start, imagining where this could go. And there, of course, we don't know what the answers are going to be, but we as a society are going to need to grapple with that, not just the scientific and technical community, but a broader group. And so I think it's terrific to have the President's Commission on Bioethics engaged, and that'll be
Rewind a bit.
Prepare ourselves to be sure we're going down the right path. And I think that's the same kind of model we can follow here.
Yeah, I think
I totally appreciate the importance of this, and believe me, I think there are going to be a lot of interesting and important questions to address, and I think it's great the President has charged Amy Gutman and the Bioethics Commission to begin that process. And it will require some research, no doubt. The Genome Project, perhaps maybe for rather first time, decided this was such a major part of what was being proposed that this would be done in a forward-looking way with a substantial budgetary contribution to the effort. And we can learn a lot from that experience, trying to be proactive, not waiting for the crisis, but trying to imagine what the most important questions are for society and how we can prepare ourselves to be sure we're going down the right path. And I think that's the same kind of model we can follow here.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that's one of the few areas where we have tried as a society to start asking the questions before the technologies really roll out, and I think we really need to do that here. I always like to distinguish between the two pieces. One is the ethical manner in which we do the research that we directly sponsor, and I think that's very important for us to continue to do, but it's also quite clear because there are clear laws and
The research they directly sponsor. So as long as they arrange for an indirect sponsorship, it's okay? They could justify anything to themselves, huh? Isn't that what sociopaths do?
regulations that govern that. The much more interesting questions really come as we start, imagining where this could go. And there, of course, we don't know what the answers are going to be, but we as a society are going to need to grapple with that, not just the scientific and technical community, but a broader group. And so I think it's terrific to have the President's Commission on Bioethics engaged, and that'll be very helpful to all of us as we go forward.
We also have another question about how do we move ideas more rapidly.
Yeah, you know why it'd be helpful to them? Because Bioethics Commission's already participated in cover-up of this very same issue.
From basic research to application. And another project that you two are working on together aims to do just that in the area of drug discovery and development. So I'm wondering if you can say a little bit about that.
I'm happy to, and it has been great working with DARPA in this space of translation. How do you take basic science discovery and apply all of the bright capabilities that DARPA has in terms of engineering real savvy, smart ideas, and how you could meld that together with biology that NIH knows about. In this case, it's a project to try to develop a biochip that allows you to determine whether a particular promising drug candidate is going to be safe or not in humans without having to use animals, but giving you a data point that's actually more reliable because the biochip is loaded up with human cells. And we're having a really good time working with DARPA on that as a collaboration. And I hope the BRAIN initiative will present many others like this.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And our two agencies have different missions, different ways of working, but these are places where we are extremely complementary. And I think it's a promising sign of more good things to come.
Indeed.
Great. Well, I'm sorry we weren't able to answer everyone's question. We've got a bunch more fantastic questions, but we encourage people to stay tuned to whitehouse.gov, and we'll continue to look for other ways to engage the public in this important initiative. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
In a sense, we are in the same ethical and moral dilemma as the physicists in the days prior to the Manhattan Project. Those of us who work in this field see a developing potential for nearly total control of human emotional status. Dr. Wayne Evans, Army Institute of Environmental Medicine. Oh, Institute of Environmental Medicine. That's an interesting title, huh? Alright, I guess I should get this to a point where I can read it. Yeah, I think I could read this. Cybernetics can be used in molding of a child's character, the inculcation of knowledge and techniques, the amassing of experience, the establishment of social behavior patterns, all functions which can be summarized as control of the growth process of the individual. Cybernetics technology that responds to thought was in the offing in his memo. Helms diverted attention from CIA-funded research and development by alluding to the Soviets. But then they had no technology the U.S. did not also have, he conceded. Oh, man. Some abductees I have spoken to have directed to join certain religious philosophical sects. The cults often bear close examination. The leaders of these groups tend to be ex-CIA operatives or Special Forces veterans. They are often linked through personal relations, even though they espouse widely varying traditions. They often use hypnosis, drugs, or mind machines. So watch out for, what was his name again? James Rink? You know, super soldier. Shit. Alright. Now I've really got a headache.